My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. I'm also an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska, and today we're going to be talking about the most disturbing things about Alaska. Okay, these are facts that are kind of make some people uncomfortable if you're looking at making a move up here. And we'll go ahead and jump into these real quick and see if things that are actually going to be disturbing for you. Before we do that though, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you leave a like. Also, make sure you make some comments in the comment section down below. That really does help out the algorithm quite a bit to know this is helping people, so it can put it in front of other people as well that is trying to find this information. Okay. Plug out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. One of the first disturbing things I'm going to get into here is just the proximity that we have to Russia. Now, we can't quite see Russia from our backyards, or at least not all of us can, but at our closest over at the Big Diomede Island, we're only like 2.4 miles away from Russia. Okay, so we're actually fairly close. You take a look at it at a map. I mean, we've got the Bering Ocean, Bering Sea, and all that right between us. So that definitely is a barrier, but Russia's really not that far away. You know, if you look at kind of the extreme points of the state in either direction. So for a lot of people, it's not something they really think about. And for us here in South Central Alaska, it's not really, you're not going to be able to really see Russia or anything like that. But it is, you know, a reality that we are pretty close to a foreign country that's, you know, hasn't been on the friendliest terms with us as of late. So just something to be aware of. The second disturbing thing about Alaska is that there are over 20,000 earthquakes every year. Okay, so that's a lot. And also, we don't feel every one of these. Okay, so there are obviously at that rate 20,000. They're every single day going to be like small little tremors going on. They're just so minuscule, you're just not even going to notice them. On average for the year, though, there are about 320 earthquakes that are 4.0 or above. Once you start getting above 4.0, you know, you're going to notice that. It might just feel like a really fast jolt, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that was. You know, it's like, oh, that was an earthquake. Cool. And you just kind of keep on with your day. So you're going to have a number of those. And also keep in mind, these averages are for the entire state, and Alaska is huge. And you can have like a earthquake that's happening somewhere else, and you're just never going to notice it in another place. Like, for instance, there was an earthquake just a little bit ago. I think it was like a 7 something out in the Aleutian Islands, and a lot of people were, you know, kind of reaching out, really concerned because they heard about the big earthquake in Alaska, and they thought a lot of us in South Central Alaska, you know, might be getting tsunamis and getting the tremors and all that. It's like, guys, it is so far away. It would be like if I lived in Tennessee and Oklahoma got some kind of an earthquake. Okay, like that's how far removed we are. So yes, about 320 earthquakes every year that are, you know, going to be noticeable, but it's a big state. So how many of them are you actually going to be feeling in the immediate area? I can remember maybe a handful from the past year. And even then, like they're, after you get used to it, they're just not something you really pay attention to. Now the big ones that can come through. I mean, I've been through some 6s, and I've been through like the 7.2 that went through in 2018. That was definitely an experience. Like I mean, the whole ground is just shaking, the building's rocking back and forth, electricity is going out. But really what a lot of people don't think about is just the length of time of the ground shaking. Because I mean, obviously there's the violence and all that, but then also it's going on for nearly a minute. And that's what we had before. Now, the 64 earthquake they had that really just kind of leveled Anchorage and really decimated a lot of communities here in the area, at least infrastructure-wise, that one went on for nearly 5 minutes. And it was about the same violence as the one in 2018, so I just can't imagine that going on for 5 minutes. But yes, earthquakes, they're here, not as often as you would think. If you live up here for a while, you're probably going to get one or two you can really remember that kind of rattled you. But for the most part, it's not going to be a daily thing where you're going to be getting re-traumatized. Number 3 is that Alaska does have a high crime rate. Go take a look at the stats. I mean, it's no secret. Alaska does have a high crime rate. I believe that because we have such a small population, you get kind of that baseline element of society. They're going to be doing stuff. They are disproportionately represented in the numbers just because we do have such a smaller population than what you get in other places. The entire population of Alaska really could fit in like the suburbs of like I don't know, Chicago or Dallas or Miami. So the fact that the stats are so high, not a huge surprise. I will say, though, we are no longer number one on the crime rate stat race. I guess if that's a race. New Mexico actually stole our crown, and they can have it. The fourth disturbing fact about Alaska is we have 140 volcanoes and volcano fields in Alaska. Now, what I didn't really like about this list when I was doing the research is that it goes back millions of years. So they're like, well, this erupted like 2 million years ago, and we're still going to include it in the list. So I say 140, and let's keep in mind that's not 140 active volcanoes that are all just, erupting at the same time, making it look like it's the background for the land before time. That's not really what we're talking about here. Nonetheless, though, Alaska is the state with the most volcanoes in the U.S., and you don't have to go too far to find volcanoes if you're kind of looking at that ring of fire. And they can be pretty cool. Gotta have a healthy respect for them. And it's not unheard of to have volcanoes erupt and to kind of deal with all the ash and all that's falling out from an active volcano. So some of you, that might be a big perk. Others of you, not so much. All right, quick break time real quick. Just wanted to make sure you're aware that I do have a podcast called The Alaskan Journey, where I talk with people who've recently moved up here or have lived up here for a long time and kind of get their 2 cents about what it's like living in Alaska and kind of give their authentic take as to what the pros and the cons of living in Alaska are and any tips and tricks they might have for moving up here. So you can get check that out in the description section down below. I've got that on Spotify and just about anywhere you can get podcasts. And also we usually have the video version on this YouTube channel as well. Also, quick PSA, and that is just saying I do get most of my income from actually helping people buy or sell real estate. A lot of people might look at the production value and everything I have on this channel and just assume YouTube is the main hustle. And realistically, from YouTube, I don't even get enough revenue to cover the cost of editing. So really, it's helping people buy or sell real estate. So if you were looking at making a move or purchasing, selling, investing up here, do feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help and see how best I can make that happen for you. Okay, that's out of the way. Let's go and continue on with today's video. All right, now this next one might terrify you, but I'll kind of tell you what it is, and we'll kind of unpack it a little bit. There are more power outages on average in Alaska than there is anywhere else in the state now, or anywhere else in the country. At about 2.6 times per year. Those outages, not great, but also they're significantly shorter than what you're going to find in the areas where things are going out. This really does come down to just the reality of, hey, when the power goes out, it's probably going to be during the wintertime, and our linemen are just ready to go because, it's pretty high stakes if it's like -20 and the power goes out. So usually they're pretty quick about getting it back on, and usually it's not going to be because of, some bad energy policy that's being implemented. Usually it's going to be because like a tree fell down on the power line, and that's really what causes it. And so that's nice that we can make it happen quickly to get power back on. Not great that we do have quite a few power outages, 2.6 times per year. It's not great, but I will say I went and bought a wood stove at a house that I bought a while ago. Like, I was excited and ready to go for the power to go out. And it went out, and I was ecstatic, and I was able to light the wood stove and everything, kept the place warm, and the power came back on within like an hour, maybe 2 hours. So a little disappointing. You spent all that money for that wood stove, and there's not a whole lot of occasions to use it, but that's the gamble that you make. Another kind of disturbing fact about living in Alaska is there is a much higher chance of animal attacks in Alaska than you're going to find in most other places. Now, I made a video talking specifically about bear attacks, and on average, there's only about 6 attacks for the entire year for the state, and that does include black bears, brown bears, grizzly bears, different type of brown bear, and polar bears. And also, really, the bears are not really what I'm worried about. I'm more worried about like moose and other critters like that can, they're just kind of cantankerous and unpredictable, and, a lot of people aren't really paying attention to, but can mess you up nonetheless. So yes, animal attacks, a little bit more of something you need to be paying attention to. Not nearly to the point where you're going to be fighting off a pack of wolves when you're just going to the grocery store, but you still need to have situational awareness, especially if you're out hiking. Alaska is a small town, which that can be a good thing if you're looking for degrees of separation between yourself and a good person, and not such a good thing if you're hoping to have as many degrees of separation between yourself and a bad person in the community. I mean, I always tell people, mind your P's and Q's, don't act a fool in Alaska, especially, well, anywhere in Alaska, because realistically, it's a small town. When it's all said and done, everybody knows everybody through one way or the other, and it's not really a big city where you can just do something, act a fool, and then just disappear into the crowd. No, everybody knows everybody. There's like 1 or maybe 2 degrees of separation between everybody, so for some people, that's going to be great. And there are other people you wish you had more degrees of separation, but that just kind of is what it is. I should have mentioned this one like near the beginning, but there are actually some members of the Russian Kremlin talking about taking Alaska back. I'm not really hearing of any serious efforts to make this happen. I mean, as in the US, politicians, they do a lot of this and they kind of talk a lot. I'm not really seeing any serious effort to make it happen. It would be an absolute nightmare trying to invade Alaska for some reasons I'm not going to go into, because I don't want to end up on like some screen in the Kremlin, them talking about strategically how to invade Alaska, so I'll avoid that. But it would be an absolute nightmare for anyone trying to invade up here. So I'm not really expecting anything there, but for those of you who try to stay out of international politics, Alaska may or may not be your cup of tea. All right, last but not least, is going to be that Alaska does have a high suicide rate for the entire state as a whole. Now, I've been pretty upfront with this, pretty clear with a lot of people. Alaska is kind of a rough environment, especially if you're not ready for the darkness and you have a tendency to self-isolate. Like that is a horrible combination, and it really does show in the stats here, because in Alaska, there's the 27.6 suicides per every 100,000 people. The average for the entire rest of the United States, the median, is right around 15.3 per 100,000 people. So you can see that there is a lot more suicides happening in Alaska, even if you're just going by the rates, than anywhere else. And, again, the rates really do make a big difference for us when we start looking at the size of our population. But regardless, that's more people than we want to be committing suicide. Well, we don't want any of them committing suicide, and that's kind of a disturbing fact that's unfortunately just a part of life up here. Breaking the suicide numbers out even further, we see that the highest incidences of suicide is going to be happening between the ages of 20 and 24 at 61.8 per every 100,000 people. National average is about 15 per 100,000 people. That is insane, just how high that is. And looking at the gender, is 79% male. So if you know a young man in your life, don't let them be a stranger. Take them under your wing and make sure that they're not out there trying to do it alone, because you need community, and it would certainly, I think it would certainly help this statistic. But this has been my disturbing facts about living in Alaska. I'm sorry to leave on such a dark note there, but thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you have any other disturbing facts about Alaska that maybe didn't make my list, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. I want to make sure that if people are looking at making the move up here, that they are as informed as possible, and they can decide if these are disturbing facts for them or if they're just fun factoids. So thanks for watching. See you next time.